Involving parents in strategically planning virtual ELT in Oman. I don't know how many people really pay attention to parents, but it has always been a big concern to me, honestly. I mean, parents mean a lot, at least in my critical applied linguistics dictionary. But let's see today together how we can involve those amazing people, those powerful people, those influential people in planning virtual ELT in Oman. But definitely, first things first, I would like to take this opportunity to thank El-Leithy for their very kind invitation to be one of their keynote speakers for tonight. So thank you so much, Dr. Ghada. Much appreciated, really.
It's our pleasure, of course, our pleasure to have you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. يعطيك العافية. طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم جميعا. I would like really to stress that this talk, it is about Oman, but then there will be implications for sure for Egypt, the Arab world, and even beyond. If we have people beyond the Arab world, they will definitely see the implications that can be drawn from tonight's speech, inshallah. So it's a broad one. It's not just about Oman. And this is very important when you are a keynote in such a big event with El-Leithy, you've got to take these things into consideration. Keep all that beautiful, lovely audience in mind. But then what kind of implications? Let's see. Well, preparing democratic professional teachers and teacher educators. Now we're talking about two categories. Many people think it's all about democratic professional teachers. Yes, it is. But then you've got the teacher educators who are way much more influential and powerful. And tonight we will be actually addressing both groups of people here under the heading of being democratic. We will see what we mean by this in a while. Yeah. So what are democratic professional teachers and teacher educators? You're definitely asking yourself now, what is this guy talking about exactly? Why democratic, inverted commas? What does he want to get at? Let's see. I'll keep quiet for a couple of minutes. You go on reading this. I'm sure you're quick readers, you're amazing readers, and then we will pick on a few things here. Okay. A dozen of lines, but then absolutely loaded, value laden. As you can see, there are so many words here which actually represent cults, critical applied linguistics in such an amazing way, really. I mean, look at those words, and I have highlighted them, bolded them. Decolonial, local minoritized communities, power and knowledge hierarchies, new alliances. Look, the idea that we are talking about the politics of ELT, even broader, the socio-politics of ELT. And in short, we are actually targeting minorities or communities that have been underprivileged and that have been totally marginalized, oppressed by the elites. This is where democratic teachers and democratic teacher educators need to step in and bring those people into vogue. They need to bring them into the play rather than just leaving them behind and going on without them, because we know that those people have got so much to contribute to the entire ELT symphony. So you just cannot overlook them. It's that simple. They've got their voice, they've got their agendas, they've got their biases, they've got their strengths, they've got everything that can really enrich our ELT process here. So it's all about bringing them into the whole thing here. Let's frame the issue together. We definitely need some kind of theoretical grounds to be able to build on. So let's see what kind of framework we are going to deal with here. Yeah. When you look back, well, Oman, the modern Oman, let's talk about that, was established in 1970. To be more specific, on the 23rd of July, 1970. We're talking now roughly about 51 years. Okay, so what does the big picture tell us about Oman? Yeah, in other words, what makes the headline when you talk about ELT in Oman and you want to be a critical applied linguist with so much criticality on board here? Let's see. Basically, we lack democracy and social justice in Oman. Omanis know this very, very well. Not many of them admit to this, unfortunately. We are still sweeping criticality under the carpet. Arabs know that. The world knows that. The West knows that. Well, the West is behind that, actually. They have a hand in all this, and everybody knows that. How they are planning things, how they are owning our fate in our present and future. So they're behind it, no doubt about that. And we also, not surprisingly enough, lack equality and equity. So if you look at those four words, phrases, call them whatever you want to call them, actually they are all integrated here very, very well. And unfortunately, Oman lacks all of them. As a result, from embracing the dominant harmful neoliberal ideology, because we have this has been generated as a result of embracing this kind of ideology. And everybody knows, those who are familiar with ideologies, they know how harmful the neoliberal ideology is, how it has been affecting nations, regimes, systems, destroying them actually, creating so much social and cultural havoc. But then what does this mean? Probably you have some more here to talk about. Let's see. This is what neoliberalism does to people. It oppresses voices, actually. It marginalizes those voices. It is all about discrimination. It creates this kind of hierarchy. The elites, who are very, very few, with all the power invested in them, and then the rest of the public, the rest of the people, who lack so much power and whose voices are absolutely thrown away. So, what conclusions can this lead us to then? Let's see. We've been in Oman suffering now for 51 years from a lack of policy practice. There is a kind of disparity between these two. Actually, the gap has been widening. It keeps widening further by the day. If I want to go and exaggerate, I would say by the minute. Things are only getting worse, unfortunately. We don't have strategic planning in Oman. Sometimes we talk about a 5-year plan. All of a sudden, we talk about Oman 2020 vision. Again, something new came up, Oman 2040 vision. It shows you the confusion. It shows you how our politicians are handling the whole situation. Totally lost, totally unaware of what is happening around them, totally owned by superpowers, unfortunately, who have been really managing things on their behalf and then taking them down that destructive road. Destructive, at least for us, the people. Our ELT system has never, and I stress, never been credible or accountable. Absolutely no chance. 51 years of lack of accountability and credibility. In other words, a total disaster. Now, one way of fixing all these problems, 1, 2, and 3, is to involve parents who have been totally marginalized for 51 years, ever since. But then why and how? Let's see. definitely different than those who existed in the early 70s or even the 80s in several ways. Let's see. Number one, today parents are educated, very well informed, very well aware of the contemporary policy and planning issues. They talk, they try to make their voices heard. They are very aware of this. They try to find their space and impose themselves upon proceedings. Yeah, how do they do that? They use different ways. They use techno to stay abreast, actually, with all these developments, cultural, economic, political, and social developments. And goodness gracious, these developments are so quick, but parents are delivering really well. So far, they haven't been letting anyone down. They're doing a great job, despite the fact that they are being marginalized and completely oppressed. Yeah, they have developed that powerful voice, and they are activists. Many of the parents today are activists in different ways. Look, activism has got several paradigms. It's not just about taking those banners and going down on the roads and then protesting. No, it has different ways, different techniques, different strategies. Put scientifically, it has different paradigms. Research showed a few things about parents, probably teachers, ELT. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Research showed that English is an asset to Oman. We need it. We simply cannot survive without English now, whether we like it or not. The way it is spread, it is preserved, it is maintained. Everything tells you these are powerful indications that English in Oman is absolutely imperative. Research also showed that teachers are absolutely strategic partners in the development of ELT in Oman. You cannot deny that. You cannot simply shut them off. It's not going to work. Research also showed that parents are strategic partners in ELT development in Oman. We gave a few reasons earlier, but then that is also documented empirically. Technology, interestingly enough, came to link 1, 2, and 3, English, teachers, and parents together. And these elements are just fascinating. You put them together and you end up with something with ultimate power that can really get ELT venturing for you. Now, as strategic partners, public intellectuals, when we, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about intellectuals, when we mention this word, we are talking about two things that go hand in glove. We are here talking about teaching as science and art and teaching as politics. You simply cannot separate ELT from politics. You cannot separate teaching in general from politics. They're always together. Teachers are also change agents, and they showed they can be trusted with policy implementation and putting credibility and accountability back into ELT. And that's not easy, believe me, but research has already shown that. But then how can they achieve this? Let's see. Teachers can use and design techno to connect with parents, and this has been proven empirically. They can establish a community of practice. They are amazing. Teachers are absolutely amazing, and they can establish their COP beyond school boundaries because they are using techno. which tells you clearly now, during the age of COVID-19, how far their thinking can go, how complex it is, and how much valued and appreciated it should be. But then what are the advantages of all this? Let's see together. Number one, mutual critical reflection, the parents as well as the teachers, on both theory and practice of using techno and ELT in Oman. Absolutely. Reflection at its very highest level, at its very best, actually. Really, really critical. And this has been shown through research. Both have joined effort to explore new avenues, to incorporate techno into curriculum and teaching, putting those two fascinating minds together. Together, they are also finding solutions to persistent techno problems in ELT Oman. Numerous. When you talk about problems in ELT Oman, simply uncountable. But these two groups are really venturing and they are finding solutions to those problems. Exploring new avenues for technology research. Research, it's more of a slogan in Oman, and if it is practiced, then it is pretty weak, pretty disappointing, pretty beyond expectations. But these two groups have shown that they can take it places. They can go above and beyond with research, and that's not easy, believe me. Bearing in mind that most of teachers are only first degree holders, for them to be able to think beyond what is given, to think in such a creative and innovative way, to conduct research and to involve parents, that is no joke. They are both together working hard to resist, challenge, and change the cultural hegemony of the MOE today, the Ministry of Education. This has been the practice for the past half a century. But these two groups are doing a great job now to change this. They're not stopping. They're not waiting for someone to come and stretch a helping hand, because they know that's not going to happen, not in a context like Oman, where there's so much oppression, so much marginalization, and so much rigid centralization. This is what you get with oppressive regimes, oppressive systems, basically. They are also working together to be able to know how to use and design techno to bridge home and school for culturally and linguistically diverse students. This is fascinating. I apologize for the spelling of diverse. There's an E missing there. So you can see now how they are really both working for the good of the students. They know that they can complement each other. They are also both finding ways to use and design techno to empower students and give them voice. Again, students are one of those groups which has been totally oppressed and marginalized in Oman, but not any longer. They are also finding ways to use and design techno to advance ELT reform. ELT reform in Oman has been a trick. We have been tricked over the past 51 years, being told that our education, and more specifically our ELT system, is being reformed, but that's not happening. This is just a hallucination. It's just a mirage. It's not there, actually. It has never happened, and it's not going to happen, because this system will continue to exist, unfortunately. Therefore, you need to go bottom up rather than top down in this case. They are finding ways to enhance parents, teachers, and students' digital proficiency. Not all students or parents or teachers have got enough theoretical and practical knowledge about using techno, but joining hands together, joining effort together, these two groups are doing something that the MOE, the Ministry of Education, has already failed to do. Therefore, I'll keep quiet and let you read this. I absolutely love the smile on Dr. Ghada's face. I feel it is a yes. Wow. It's a win-win case. I managed to convince her in 20 minutes or less. Oman is famous for its magicians. Here's one who's got both, actually. Magic and critical applied linguistics. So thank you so much, Doc.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Ali. Thank you for coming today and for presenting wonderfully for our event. Thank you so much. Dr. Ali is one of the heavily cited scholars all across the world in this field. And actually, everybody's talking about parent engagement in online education as being a burden. So thank you for offering insight, because actually it really helps anchor our students to have the parents back. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's very
Dr.
insightful.
Thank you, Issa, for hosting me once again. It was a privilege. I feel absolutely humbled, and I hope this will leave people with some reflection. Probably will steal some sleep from your eyes tonight.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ali Issa. Thanks a lot, Professor Ali Issa, for his great insights about the situation here in Oman and reflections on online education. Still, we are here in our event tonight. And the second presenter will be our dearest Dr. Ghada Al-Akhdar.
And I would like to share something about my presentation. Actually, it's like it thinks of the competences teachers should have and how we can anchor the students during online education with the new challenges at hand. So I hope it's a very short presentation, and it's offering insights on ideas and skill set the teachers can include. Okay, so do we have a question? We have a raised hand. Is that a question? Well, would I just like proceed? Okay, so I'll get to proceed with my presentation. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, is the screen there now?
Yes.
Okay, so actually I'm talking here about shifting the roles for teachers. So sometimes the teacher is visible, sometimes invisible. And the implications for the student, what is it that the student needs now, and how can we empower them during the process of learning? So classrooms as a classic norm for education, it brings teachers forward as the model. The teacher becomes the facilitator and the leader in the educational process. Accordingly, the skill set teachers develop and the training they receive mostly entail classroom management, setting the rules, planning the lessons, planning the assessment. So this is the classic set for teachers. And this is the normal life of teachers. Online learning comes out as an option to complete face-to-face teaching. It mostly focuses on stretching class time for better management and better classroom interaction. So when it started like 15 to 20 years ago, and we started giving the teachers the training to use blended learning, the main objective was to maximize the benefit of classroom interaction. It was always in the background of our minds. So teacher training online was done in order to maximize the benefit of the classroom. In other words, online work was done to support face-to-face presence for the teacher, which does not require actually much work because teachers are very responsible, they connect well, they develop rapport with their students. It wasn't very much of a challenge for them to be present in the classroom. Yes. Regardless of the teaching approach used, whether by grammar translation, audiolingualism, which runs all across Egypt, the experience that we have here, or the communicative approach, where we have the teacher focusing on the student and giving them authentic language, and they're trying to encourage them to speak their minds. These are all approaches to teaching, but classrooms were mainly content-centered. The examination was predictable and very frequent. So we have set pace and usually impersonal relations in the classroom. So students will always bring themselves as students and teachers will bring themselves as teachers. So they were role-centered and they would play with very predictable sets in the classroom. So teachers' roles were mostly organizational with an eye on the goal and the assessment bars, okay? With the pandemic hitting, and then we have 2 or 3 semesters going online. They were usually the spring semesters going online. A new status quo brought about by COVID-19 started yielding new implications for teachers. It has a different meaning now. The skill set of the 21st century, technology and communication skills, this is the focus or the core of teacher education. It's also, we want the teacher to be comfortable using online tools. We want the teachers to be comfortable using technology and communication skills and critical thinking and stuff like that. That would be the best teacher ever. But actually these set of skills, now it becomes inadequate to compensate for the lack of human touch students would experience, the enforced concept of social distance for safety, and the long hours behind the screen for students. So now the students are not as motivated, they are not as engaged, no matter how nice and lively the activities that go online are, because students, especially in some countries, they reported to be weeks on end, unable to interact with other people, and maybe with just one single mother or one sibling in the study place. So this is an example of what was reported by the students, long work hours, and they were not really actually motivated to attend their classes. Okay. So the new skill set is, there's a need to make teachers' presence more empathetic and more empowering to students. We want the teacher eye to expand and to see into the student and their actual needs. The e-space between them is not simply an extension of the normal classroom anymore. It's a space of power and presence for the teachers to attend to students' needs of safety and connection. The goal here is to support the whole person, to find the gem in the distracted or disturbed, and not just content. It's not just assessment centered. So now it's safety. Teachers are supposed to create space of safety for the students, where the students can come with presence and they can speak their minds, and they can speak their needs, okay? And still we are trying to fix the goals of the lesson in order to include our students. So do what? What's the new skill set? What should teachers do? It's training. So these are some of the competencies that are proposed by coaching. Schools of coaching for the past 8 years have been promoting skills of active listening, powerful questioning, and direct communication. So it's not just about critical thinking, and it's not just about communicating your mind. It's about connecting to others with presence and with an anchoring effect. It's like listening to what's being said and what's not being said, okay? It's like using communication, not to ignore the elephant in the room, but if one of the students is suffering something, you can approach that without offending them, but express courage and care, and approach your students in order to give them safety to come to the classroom in their full, wholesome presence. These are coaching components that can be introduced to the teacher's skill set in order to make the student comfortable, confident, and to foster feelings of safety. So how do you think active listening can be used for teachers? What are questions teachers can be using, especially using clean language, a language that's non-judgmental, that's not attached. It's just like an invitation for students to think and accepting the kind of answers they would give. Active listening is about giving students a sense of confidence, trust, and safety through teacher presence. It entails care that helps the human aspect of the student to emerge. And it's okay not to know. It's okay to have silence. And it's okay to explore. Active listening allows students to reflect differentiation, and they will reflect curiosity. Okay, so sometimes the students wouldn't talk, they would want to perform, for example. They would want to draw, they would want to think and come back with an answer next time. So do we usually allow students to think and come back with an answer next time? What about the silences? If I have a common topic, when I have this student who doesn't talk every time this topic comes in, so does the teacher notice the reaction of the student? These are things that are normally the case in the classroom. But I think if we're doing online education, teachers should learn to look into the state of mind and the state of heart students carry to their classrooms as well. So this is teacher presence, magic. Powerful questioning will go like, it creates levels of awareness about the student, about the situation he is in, and it allows for exploring the goals and the values of the class without attachment. It means that it's not the expected answers that we want the students to come in, to bring into the classroom. No, it's up to the student to bring in other things. Maybe it triggers a train of imagination. Maybe it invites new ideas for them to come. It can be taken as irrelevant in traditional classroom settings. But when we are doing coaching and when we are doing teaching for students online and they are suffering lack of connection, allow them to talk. Allow them to have 10 minutes of conversation, side talk with their friends. They haven't seen them either. Did you see? So it's like allowing things to pop up, allowing things to come, even if this, if we run the risk of finding some distractions in the classroom. Okay, even if we do have some distractions. Okay. It maximizes student engagement, connects to their sense of meaning, and encourages their story or perspective to be shared. So what happens here is that the teacher becomes part of the classroom, but it's not the leader of the classroom. They just like offer topics, they offer things, they start to work on the curiosity and exploration for students. And then every student is going to come and propose their own view of the world. They're going to speak their story. It's a healing experience. It's a connecting experience to share their perspective. So maybe our priorities are shifting now. And the role of the teacher also. So the pace of the classroom is not just engineered towards the objectives of the lesson. It's also engineered towards efficient connection with the student. So it's based on invitations and observations, like the non-attached, what they call the non-attached, the non-judgmental kind of questioning. The powerful questioning would be like using clean language. So what do you see in this situation, for example? Look at this picture. How do you relate? How does it resonate to you? It is, we call that clean language, means that the teacher does not use implications. The teacher does not elicit the answer from the student. It's complete freedom. It's complete safety. So through invitations for the students to speak and through observations on the part of the teacher, the student develop into safety and they feel seen, they feel heard, and they start presenting themselves better. Okay. Direct communication is the third skill. So it entails courage and selectivity for the teacher. The teacher knows what to ask and they go straight and direct, very thinly and very focused on the question. They focus on the goal and allow the student to speak back and express themselves in writing or in performance. So direct communication does not necessitate language or the objectives that we have in the school, but just like people can come and speak their mind, they can just like offer a drawing. They can express themselves the way they would want to be in touch with themselves in classroom in a safety experience or environment. The teacher notices the body language of students, the moves, the communication towards lesson goals. They communicate and they lead them with grace. So there is no call for discipline in online education when it's done for the sake of safety. If you are trying to give students, they are disturbed, they feel unnerved, you just like anchor them and you lead them slowly at their own pace, okay? You highlight the positive, the gem within the student. We usually don't want to have the rough edges around us. We just like make space for the junk, and we encourage the student. We champion the student to come out positive with courage and diligence, not judging and with non-attachment. I would like to speak about this project as well. This is a project that was that's sponsored by 6th of October University. It partners with European and Egyptian universities. The project works to offer specialized refugee teacher certification. And there is this link for the project if you would like to take more information about it. Okay. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you today. And I hope you enjoyed my reflections on coaching. I'm actually doing a diploma in coaching for education. And I have seen that it's going to help people, especially those who are suffering like trauma experiences and uneasiness because of the COVID or because of war or because of other experiences in the world. So we use online education or blended learning in order to facilitate, again, education and connecting back to the actual meaning. We become teachers, and not just teachers. It's teachers, philosophers, and healers. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ghada. Can you show the link that you just shared in the previous slide?
Okay, okay, would you like me to share it again?
Yeah, I will type it in the chat box.
Okay. This is the link. This is a project to prepare teachers with pedagogical backgrounds, okay, in order to teach refugees. So if they get to teach refugees, they're actually catering for other needs as well, like the need for belonging, like healing from trauma, okay, like the sociocultural thing. So it's not just content education. So this is one of these projects. Be my guest if you have any questions. I can refer you and give you more links to that too. Okay, thank you so much.
Great.
I'll try to be not to keep you long, just like Dr. Ali and Dr. Ghada, although I am someone who likes to speak a little bit, so you can stop me any time. Part of this, a large part of this presentation actually is based on some studies I have been conducting for a while now, different researches, published researches on what we can call the digital literature, electronic literature. There are many terms as we'll be speaking as we'll be seeing now. And I thought, and I have actually tried this myself, since we are speaking about online teaching, I think one of the biggest problems or one of the biggest challenges is that we don't have a curricula completely devised for online teaching. We try to manipulate what we already have into our classrooms. We try to mitigate the problems that we face because the curriculums and the syllabi which we have, the curricula and the syllabi which we have are print originally for print or for the physical presence in the classroom. One of the things which I have tried actually before COVID, because I saw the internet and I saw the technology coming, was teaching new forms of literature, and that led me into diving into this this field. As I told you, this is parts of this is comes from a paper which I had published, The Internet of Minds and the Evolution of the Frankenstein Literature, Features of Cyber Alienation in 1001 Chat and Flight Paths. It's basically this paper gave an overview on the final stages of the literature, of the development of the literature as published works into the digital age. And I worked I based my work on the work of philosophers Herbert Marshall McLuhan and Jacobson, Bakhtin, Morgera, and many others. And in this paper, I started to introduce two concepts. One was the Internet of Minds, and the other was the Frankenstein literature. Don't worry, I will not be taking you into any much of the theoretical jargon, but just because I thought I'll be taking parts of it, I thought of introducing it. It's in this paper, there was this argument about what actually happens on the communication process within the cyberspace, the cyber brain, and the Bakhtin's heteroglossia, the cyber message, and from it came the idea of the Internet of Mind, which is, of course, a mirroring of the technological term of the Internet of Things. And there was this concept again of in the next paper of the Frankenstein literature, the portmanteau literature, which is another term for this. So why we are referring to this? Because from what I have seen from many conferences and many meetings with the teachers of literature in all in the different levels, whether for teachers of literature for schools students or for the universities, from different arenas. Actually, the newest concepts and the newest inventions, can we say, the newest creations in this field, which have been going on for a while now around the world, they are actually untouched. So I thought today, in this very nice evening, we'll be having an opportunity to explore all of this together, a bit of this and that. Of course, as you can see, we have this sky filled with different terms. We have the digital literature, along with it electronic literature. We have something, the generative literature. We have the VR, which is virtual reality books, augmented reality books, cybertext, hypertext fiction, flash fiction, Twitterature, and so many else, so many other terms. Of course, all of these, they have different definitions, and again, I don't want to fall into making this presentation more of the theoretical speech or a theoretical presentation, but just to go through the different concepts or the different terms. If we speak about generative literature, for instance, it's by definition the production of literary work with the help of the computer. So how is this different from electronic literature? Electronic literature, according to many studies, does not refer to basically literature that in which in its creation the computer was used, but it's being made into an electronic form. So is this different from cybertext or hypertext fiction? Yes, because hypertext and cybertext, they are speaking about links that lead you into different narration paths. So one novel or one poem or one story would lead you into different routes and different climaxes and different endings. Of course, this is again part. And in this paper, which is the point of departure in which this presentation I want to speak about, I was calling for a more liberal understanding of the term literature, because one of the very strange things for me, even when I was at college, was that idea that we would consider drama as a form of literature, which is something like a play written to be performed, but we wouldn't consider lyrics of a poem. We wouldn't consider a script for a movie, and even the works that come afterwards. So why is this? So there should be, with the new age, with the coming of this new age, there should be a better look at these terms. Why Frankenstein? According to this paper, of course, you cannot miss the mirroring of the Shelley's novel Frankenstein, because it refers to the creation of something or of a being with the use of technology, that this creation in itself comes to eat its creator in the end, or comes to kill its creator in the end. And this was part of the argument that this mind that has no restrictions, that has no studies, that has no limits, it would turn into some kind of a Frankenstein. And of course, there was again this call for a more or a larger term for literature that would include not only written texts of merit like novels and poems, but also, and this would remind me of Dr. Ghada's discussion. We were discussing something concerning studies that took place over, for instance, Facebook posts and others. These should be included. Some of them, and most of them, should be included. Included under this umbrella are other non-fictional works, including news reports, live streaming comments, personal statements, and actually, especially in the field of linguistics, you would see this. How is this would be relevant to anyone who's teaching literature? Why would this presentation be relevant to anyone? Because this was the question which I asked myself. So I tried to present some of the works that would be very beneficial if you tried, instead of teaching literary texts, instead of teaching reading passages in its very traditional form, we could start to resort to these digital works, digital novels, digital poems, literature, flash fiction. These new forms is more closer to the minds of the newer generation, and at the same time they are more attractive. For instance, this is a novel. This is one of the novels that I worked on before. It's called Flight Path. As you can see, each one of these squares, you can just click on any of them and it would take you into part of the narrative. And the narrative itself, it doesn't have so many words as much as it has this atmosphere of, for instance, here, this novel is a very simple novel. It tells a story and it's based on a true story of a number of refugees who were trying to travel from different countries into London, into London's the Heathrow airport in London, and one of them or two of them actually fell from the aeroplane. Sorry, just as the aeroplane was landing, so they fell from the, which is a scene which we have seen as well when the American troops were evacuating from Afghanistan. Actually, I worked on this novel before, of course, this scene, but it's a recurrent scene. So in this is Yaqub in Dubai. He was one of the refugees. He went to Dubai as to work there, but just as a transit because he wanted to go to a European country, and he was smuggled into an aeroplane. And the story goes, he's at the airport, and you would see the different paths he would go through, and then the lady on whose car he falls, as you see in number 5, he falls on the back of her car eventually, and then her son meets him because he miraculously falls alive because the airplane was very close to the ground, and the story goes on. So this is one of the novels. I think if we start teaching this kind of works for our online classes, it would be much more attractive and much more relevant to students than putting a reading passage or a part of a novel from a page and just putting it. What's nice, even why of course there are many other digital novels, but this is a network novel, and this is another form of novels which is requires more engagement for the reader. How? If you are a reader, you can have access into the story, and you can try to change, and you can recommend changes for it. I'm sorry, I have to drink something because actually I have been teaching. I had a whole day of lectures today, and then I'm here, so I cannot speak much. So anyway, you can see these are the names of the participants. If you look here, it's by Kate Pullinger, Chris Joseph, and participants. These participants, these are the names of the participants, and anyone could enter and start to participate. Okay, so these are the participants to the novel, and moving into another form, which is twiterature. And this is another form and part of literature which I found my students very, very, very engaged in, because it's closer to their minds, because in these novels, it's these are novels of 140 characters, which was the number of characters allowed on Twitter. And The Guardian actually challenged 21 authors. The Guardian, the British newspaper, it challenged 21 authors to try their hand at one of the very well-known authors, to try their hand at these 140 character novels. These are just examples of it. I know I said that this is a novel. I know I said that if I lived to 100, I would not regret what happened last night, but I woke up this morning and a century had passed. Sorry. I mean, it's very poignant. It's very filled with meanings, with the different interpretations. Another one, there are many, and this is another new, I think, creative way of engaging students, and especially if you ask them after reading some of these works to create their own. Your money or your life. I'm sorry, my dear, but you know, it would kill me to lose my money, said the partially deaf miser to his wife. It speaks a lot about the use of diction, the vocabulary, the associations and connotations of meaning. These are another, so they are, and you can of course find them if you Google them, these authors, and it became like a genre, a new genre or an emerging genre. Even Penguin chose this title, twiterature. Of course, you understand that twiterature is based on Twitter, the app. This was the title of a Penguin release that summarizes 80 of the greatest works of Western literature, with less than 20 tweets. And of course, it's very interesting for, again, the new generation or the young generation is very, actually not only the young generation, it was actually very entertaining even for me. Anna Karenina, which is a very, we have read many adaptations to the book when you read it in just 20 tweets, Harry Potter's, Macbeth, and so on. Another very creative creation, again, we are speaking about the combination of technology and literature and how we can either replicate such experiments. For myself, I think one of this cave writing project, which was a project in Brown University, it's a workshop in Brown University, and it is a combination. It's made for the seniors of the different graduating classes from computer science, information technology, literature, and linguistic students. And it's, as its name proposes, it's a cave writing workshop. As you can see, the participant would be standing wearing these very special glasses, and around him or her there is like a cave filled with different sounds and different texts written in different formats, conveying different meanings. It brings together teams of undergraduate and graduate fiction writers, poets, playwrights, composers, and sound engineers, graphic designers, visual artists, 3D modelers, and programmers. It was developed in the Technology Center for Advanced Scientific and Computing and Visualization at Brown University. And of course, there are many videos for this creation. I think this is, again, one of the very attractive for me. It's one, especially it can be replicated in other places, but it requires so much creativity, just creativity. It's not something costly or something very difficult to implement, but it's just, it needs creativity and passion for literature and technology. This is something which I found interesting because it brought the technology or the internet into the real life. What you are seeing here is the Extravia, which is called Minds in Transit. This is a physical hypertext. As you can see, this is like a maze, and this is it's an actual in a physical room. And when you enter, you would find the different lines from poetry lines, and these poetry lines, you would go follow them through something like a maze, and you make your choices. You can go from one line to another, from one line to another, or the opposite. And so everyone composes their own poem. Readers enter. It's in a hall that is assigned for this project. Something like a maze is created, hanging from the ceiling to the level of the eyesight of the readers, and lines of the poems are written on scattered pieces that are arranged in a maze-like structures. Readers enter and start reading the poems until they reach crossroads in which they have choices to continue reading in the direction that pleases them. Of course, this is exactly the same as the hypertext, the idea of hypertext in the digital novel. So these are different forms or different ideas for teaching. Again, I would build on what Dr. Ali and Dr. Ghada spoke about, the challenges and opportunities. Of course, just like what was said, training and knowledge, this is a challenge and an opportunity. I think this is a new field that anyone, especially the younger generation, if you are interested in learning, if you are interested into exploring new fields, if you are interested into getting into something which is not traditional and requires different skills, I think this is an opportunity. It's a challenge for those who don't like to explore new lands or are very crowded with what they already have. So it would be very difficult for someone who has been teaching the traditional literary texts to explore new texts with new ideas and new critical frameworks into teaching them and implementing them into the classroom. Of course, I think we have seen together now one of the problems of the use of technology. It's unreliable. It's simply unreliable. Technology challenges are so many. We just like now, just at the moment, the presentation stopped working. Something worse could happen. I could be stopped working on the because of the internet, because of the power goes off, because of the machine getting any kind of glitching happening. So technology challenges is something which is we have to put into our minds while we are embarking in such a pursuit. Another opportunity or something which is very attractive is what, remember Aristotle's elements of drama, spectacle. It's the idea of spectacle. When we read normal texts, we just build our everything, we keep it in our imagination, but now we can imagine with the help of different aids, and this leads to the other point, which is infinite creativity. I think technology gives us, just like the cave writing project, which I was speaking about, if you really watch what these amazing students and amazing writers have done, I think it gives us room for infinite creativity, using augmented reality, using virtual reality, combining the physical with the virtual. I think all of this makes a spectacle and makes an amazing creative world for beauty and imagination, things beyond even what our imagination would reach. Of course, the last and not the least thing is the reach and the engagement. I think without technology, many of our presenters, myself, or even some of our attendees wouldn't have been able to attend or to meet together. Now we are meeting from different parts in Cairo, in October, in Egypt, from different governorates, and from Oman, from different places. I don't know whether there are other countries or in other places, but we understand that technology has made it very easy for us to connect together from different places and different backgrounds as well. I think we should make better use of this with our students, giving them better opportunities to go around the world and not vice versa. This wraps up. I'm sorry if this has been a little bit long. I'm very sorry. I think we agreed on 30 minutes. I hope I haven't exceeded much of the 30 minutes. If there are no questions, I would like to thank you all for listening and for attending and for being here in this evening with the reflections on online learning. Thank you so much.
All of you, thanks for Prof. Ghada, Issa, and Rasha. Thank you so much for this chance to be one of your wonderful event. Actually, my topic is completely different. We started from Ali and the Omani context, which I hope that it will be passed safely. And Dr. Rasha, of course, we listened to something amazing for the literature, and Dr. Ghada, the invisible teachers, and this wonderful way. So here I'd like to give some facts about China or the Chinese context and what makes me fly a weary way from the Arab world to China. First, if you are a linguist, so the first question is, how many languages do you talk or how many languages do you speak? I found of learning Chinese for a long time ago. That's why I insist on going there and get working. And one of my requests there to study Chinese while I'm teaching, because I was teaching second language acquisition. So I had to know the L1 before I teach English for the Chinese speakers of English. Anyway, so we have, I'd like to start for the online teaching in China and what happened exactly and when they started, those people. So first of all, since 1970s, there are some aspects in China which were revolutionized. The first one was the cultural revolution, and then the second one, revival of the educational system. The third one, economy policy, and then the political system, transportation, and then the applied technology. If we have a look for these 6 pieces or aspects, it changed the whole China people and the progress of the country. In the past, the people told me we had nothing to eat, but nowadays we can have a variety of things and we can lead the world. This is one of the principles of the Chinese people when you talk to the old people there. I mean the wise people, because when I talk with those over 60, all of them are leaders. And what does it mean, leaders? It has a lot of meaning in their country. So they use all of these 6 points in order to improve their nation. And we can now, all of us, we know now what is it China, and every one of us feel where is it China exactly. So we come to the images of the e-learning, because I don't want to talk about something further than online teaching in China. It started in 1990s when all the world don't know about the online, and we were not satisfied. And even in the Middle East, specifically, online certificates was not recognized at all. But nowadays, after COVID-19, most of the Arab world now, they say we can recognize it. After what? After about 30 years of ignoring the online teaching. Anyway, so they started in 1990s, but how it was governed and controlled by the government, by the way, not telecommunication companies. Covers the all educational sectors, I mean from primary education until the higher education sector. But how they make the infrastructures constructions, which covers everywhere in China. What I mean here, wherever you go in China, you can be connected to Wi-Fi, and the strong Wi-Fi, not like in other places. I don't want to talk in countries because not to be misunderstood. And for me, I have my bad experience with my nephew and my niece when they asked me to teach them something online. They are in Upper Egypt. I spent 2 hours frustrated in order to be connected with them. And unfortunately, nothing happened. Then controlled by the telecommunication companies, as I told you here, these communication companies under the control of the government. What does it mean? There is no corruption. What does it mean? You cannot steal the customers. What does it mean? The clients have their own rights. And wherever you go, wherever you are in the whole China, Maryland, you can be connected easily to the online. So this is the first important point, which other countries suffer from, or you have to pay a lot to be connected. So here, what are the procedures must be followed on teaching online? So we started in the Arab world teaching online, but I would like you to compare between what we have and what those people have. So the procedures are strict procedures. You must follow it. It must be followed by the teachers wherever they are teaching. Higher education or primary, secondary, preparatory, whatever the stage is, you have to follow these procedures. What are they? Number one, the students must open the camera all the lectures long. Can we do this? And for me, about our context here, we cannot. I don't know about Egypt. Number two, in case the student doesn't open the camera, she will be considered an absentees. It means that you don't attend. And attendance there, by the way, you have to, your mark should be deducted because you are not attending the class. Number three, all the lectures must be recorded. Why? To be used by the disabled students. What does it mean? Because we classify the students to able students and disabled students. I cannot say good and bad because good and bad is not academic categories. So we call them disabled and able students. Implementation of the policy of social credits. What does it mean? If you have something wrong, it will be against you. There is a record, by the way. So the social credit also, it is applied in the educational field as well, not only in the public, not only for the people outside, but they apply this in the educational field. If you have something wrong, it will be registered against you. Then during the exams, when I talk to Walid, I don't know what are they doing, by the way, but when you during the exam, you can see the students, all the room where he is or she is. So you can monitor the students, all the students. And by the way, you are not the only one who monitor. A lot of people with you are monitoring the students, not only you. How? It's something I don't know about, but what I hear that there is something they call it, or surveillance cameras, where you can see the students. What we have here, and when I said here, I mean the whole Arab world, that you can make online exam for the students, and the students can open another laptop and or any other device, and they can cheat easily, and you don't know what is happening. But what we know, or if they open the online session, you can find the student sleeping, and yes, the lecture is on, and the student is there, and he attends at the front of you in the screen of the computer, and you don't know what is he or she doing, and it's something unbelievable. But there, if you are out, or if you are not, if you don't appear on the screen, it means that you are not there. So can we implement that all the same? I don't know. Of course, you can answer, not me. So here we come back to the panorama, how those people come to this point, how the Chinese people and the Ministry of Education come to this point. What I was surprising when I went there, that the university has many students, not like us. It reaches 30,000 students, 300,000 students, or 400,000, and nearly 500,000. How it comes? When you teach a class, and you have some people who transfer the lectures for online. It is not your job. You have some assistants inside the class, by the way. The people started from where the people stopped, but they were the pioneers in that. Why? When I discovered they started a long time ago for online teaching. The Ministry of Education, how they started, the Ministry of Education there of China, People's Republic of China, launched a national initiative program. What's this program? It is called the National Program for Invigorating Education towards the 21st century. Imagine, when it started in 1998. And you remember at the time I remember I was wondering, what does it mean, computer? And how can we use it? And when we see a computer in a bank, some people, what's this? Or I think it was the beginning of the mobile phones, and it was not mobile phone, by the way, it was, you remember this Nokia, the old one, and how the people were proud of, they have a pager or something. We were out of date, but those people started to apply the technology in education. So what happened? What was the aim of this? The aim was to provide the specific guidelines for development of information and the communication technologies, ICT applications, were in education for only the first 5 years, from 1999 to 2003. So can you imagine when those people started online teaching and how they started it, to what extent they apply it. And there, by the way, if you don't know, so you need to tell people that you know. What I mean that if you are ignorant, you will be discovered so easily at the front of the people. So these are the starter. What happened after that? And for me, when I read about this literature, I discovered that this program or this project exactly played a very important role in promoting the development of online education, because they concentrate the first 5 years how to use the ICT in education field only. So there are some people, their job is how to promote educational field based on the ICT. So why online teaching in China? Why they selected online? While the whole world were out of use for the online teaching. Of course, there were some motives for implementing the online teaching. One of them was, of course, the increase of population. And if you hear that China is 1.3 billion, I tell you no, they are more. If somebody tells you that they have only one child, no, I tell you some people have 4 children. This is what you don't know. Because when I was there, I went to the mountainous places and I moved around China. When I went to the villages, the countryside, I can find the whole family, about 5 people or 4 people, 6 people. How it comes? We hear a long time ago that it is only one child. And by the way, 3 years back, they changed the policy to give a permission for 2 children. So you can have 2 children. And those in the promote areas, they can have more. So because of the population, the second one, economic approach. How it comes? Because they think for the long term, not the short term. They don't look at their feet, by the way. They look very farther, more than what any one of us can expect. Then meeting the demand. What does it mean? Most of the people need to learn. Most of the people need to be educated. Improving the quality of teachers. They want to qualify teachers. How I work in a country and most of the teachers who are over 40 years or 45 years have never been taught any single lesson about computer. And we say that we are training our teachers to use online teaching. And when I discovered some countries, unfortunately, the teachers told me, Anwar, we are asked to do something that we don't know about. They said that we have this and use this and use that and we use this. And you can see the different decisions that we have to change between online or paperwork or I don't know what they call online exam. Anyway, and then we come to setting up online virtual schools. This is Ma, 2001. This is one of the writers there, by the way. He told me, and when I read his book, he mentioned that because of the population, they want to start online virtual schools because all the people there are working. They are working and studying at the same time. Not like us. We are working as we have some governmental jobs, but we work another standby jobs for after you finish your work, or while you are in the work, you can leave the work and go to another work. This is a completely different context, which cannot be found in China. Then covering both the private and public schools, by the way. There you have the public, it means the governmental one, and the private, it's the private one. But when we say something, it must cover both, not only one sector. So online, pertinent to online education were discussed towards practical solutions. Since that time, the people there discuss what are the problems encountered with them. So when they discuss the problem earlier, they could find solutions. What are the solutions? The solutions for any, as Dr. Rasha now, she told, I had something wrong happen with the presentation. They took all of these problems and tried to deal with it in earlier. But it happened when? 1999. We come to the case of higher education, which we care, or which we wanted to know what happened exactly. So the practical procedures, what they do, they followed, I'm sorry for repeating the word, adopting the open door policy. Open door policy, who knows, you come. If you know something, come and tell us what you have. We will try it and apply it. Then practical implement for the created techniques. If you have any technique, if you have anything related to online teaching, we can try it and see. And if it works well, we have to overgeneralize for all China. Increase the capacity of higher education institutions to meet the increase of enrollment here. Because imagine that the university has 250,000 students. Do you think how you can imagine how can you teach or how can you move in between? Then the role of the government here in expanding the enrollment. The government, they're responsible for all and everything. And when I say the government, I mean the controllers, the leaders. The government increase the resources to meet the requirements of the expansion. And then in September 1998, Ministry of Education started to grant online education license to, imagine, 1998. They give it, yeah, if you study online, your certificate will be recognized. Not like in the Middle East, until 2 years back, online certificate was not recognized at all. And when you say somebody has online certificate, oh, how it comes, you should attend face to face and blah, 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 and so on. But see, in how many universities? Qingdao University and Beijing Post and Telecommunication University, Zhejiang University, and Hunan University as a first batch. After that, of course, they opened the gate for all the universities. Nowadays, wherever you go to in China, you find all of them work online, whatever your specialization is. What is the harvest of the Chinese people from the Educational National Project? What did they get? The real harvest was in 1980, 0.28 million enrolled in higher education institution, online, for online only. 1999, 1.65 million enrolled. In 2002, 2.75 million enrolled. And then they started from 2005, the target was they get annual increase between 11 and 15%. Nowadays, imagine this from 2005. So you can imagine now we are in 2020 or 2021. You can imagine now how many. It means that most of the Chinese universities, most of them work online in a piece. It means they have no problem at all. So nowadays, most of the kids have no problem in implementing full online teaching, whatever your major is. So what I'm saying here, most of the countries, they said, yeah, we have a 5 years plan and we will do, but all of what is mentioned is theoretical. But those people are, what I found, very practical, very practical, very practical. And this means, what does mean practical? And this, I found it, by the way, when they went to Egypt and they imitate Fanus Ramadan and they did a new one and they brought it back to Egypt. And not only Egypt, by the way, if you come to Oman also, they took the logo of Oman and they made it and bring it back here. In Saudi Arabia, they took the prayer carpet and they bring one for the campus. And you can be surprised at what they do in every country. They imitate and they give you something you will never dream of getting it. And even their production has 5 grades, by the way. Grade 1 go to some certain countries, grade 2 go to another countries, and so on, until we have grade 5. And when I say we, I mean all the Arab world. These are the sources, by the way. All of these are writers and friends of mine. So what we can learn? To be honest with you, I have some principles which I don't know if you will be satisfied or agree with me or not, because really sometimes I feel that We are very far away from online teaching when we compare ourselves with others and what they do and what's their impact on the world for online teaching. That you control half million students when you are sitting in your room. This what does it mean? It means a lot. And we've had a look for the what they said about this 5th generation and what they can do with it and the abilities, something amazing. So can we implement the following? I'm just asking you this one. Who has nothing can give nothing. Is it true? I think this is my principle, by the way, wherever I go. If you don't know, don't come to lead me. If you are not qualified to be a leader, never be a leader. But who brought you as a leader? I don't know. Because I'm satisfied with, and also you'll be satisfied with me, and I think you agree with me, that who has nothing can give nothing at all. You cannot be a leader for education and you have never been a teacher before. You can't. How can you lead a big organization for any country and you have no idea about the teaching? You're just like a parent, okay, no problem, but you have never been working as a teacher. You don't know what does it mean teaching in a class. You don't know how the school is managed. So you cannot control me. You cannot manage me in an effective way. You can control by name, yeah, but you will miss and you will destroy the national income for nothing, for nothing. Then what I say for the other, some context, you can take the horse to the river, by the way, but you cannot enforce the horse to drink. If the student doesn't want to study, he will never study. That's why when we say that those who are qualified to be students, universities, okay, the students, university students, okay, we can accept this. But those who cannot, go out. You can study something else. And here I go to the technology education. What we say, technical education and the disaster that we have, not in one country, in many countries, by the way. Just a fake. It's a picture. It's a picture. This is technical education. The laboratories are not working. The machines are not working. You study equipment and engineering and you come out and you have no idea about how to use or how to change the tire for your car or how to fix something broken in your house. Or you're studying IT and you don't know how to make something or create a program. So what is the outcome? I don't know. So I don't know if you agree with me with this or not. You can take the horse to the river, but you cannot enforce the horse to drink. The third one, building properties or building generation. Shall I build the houses and say that I'm doing this? What about the people? What about the minds which are ill and they don't know? And the crimes that we have been seeing many times from time to time, because the people are not educated, because the school was the main reason, because the teacher doesn't have any rule as it was. This something makes you feel bleeding and you don't know what's happening, what changed us. And when you sit together, you said, yeah, in the past, when we see our teacher run away, what about now? The students can take the teacher and fight him inside the class, not out of the class, inside the class. They can fight him. But what I saw in China and in Japan, of course, and when I moved around, believe me, never ever one says, we'll go out without Shishe Laoshe. Thank you, teacher. Shishe Laoshe. I've never been absent one day. When you have about 95% of the students are girls, and nobody's absent one day for the whole 2 years long. And this was, by the way, before Corona. But if you compare this situation with the Arab world, I speak the Middle East, all the Arab world without any exception, because I moved around most of the countries from Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and coming to Egypt, Sudan, even Sudan. I went there for Tesla Sudan, and also until Qatar, Bahrain, Baghdad, and all of these countries I moved around. And I got the real reflections from the professors and lecturers in the universities and Ministry of Education and what is happening. So are we ready to build our generations, or we just show up that we are doing? I felt ashamed, believe me, to show you a video about it in the morning assembly for the students in China, and how holy students and the teachers make sports in the morning under the music of national songs. Never ever you can find a student suffer from headache or diabetes or fall down because he has anemia or something. No. Never ever find somebody clean the classroom without only the students who do this. One student cleans the class, one student is responsible for the absentees, one student is responsible for the system, and one of the students is responsible for switching off all the lights and the fans before they go out. No people work, the students themselves is working. Something make me, believe me, when I was very happy, I was very sad at the same time. What about us? What about us? So, do we believe in a proper education build nation? Just a proverb, we repeat it everywhere. While poor education really destroys the nation, what we need to build the students, the abilities. Because if you have a health generation, be sure that you will come to the top. You can see what Mahathir Mohamad did. If you go to Malaysia, I went to Malaysia. I was very surprising, by the way, because the Chinese people sent me to represent them in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. To what extent? Because I just applied simple, very simple points online, and then I published a book for them about public speaking, what we can do only. I did nothing, just simple job. And when I went to Malaysia, I was also very surprised from the context there, how the schools are organized, how the teachers are respected, how you take your rule, how you control everything, and how all the people respect you. And what about after you finish, after 6 years working as a teacher, how the people deal with you? Not to be a beggar, you cannot find something to eat because your pension is nothing. Can we change? This is the question. If we follow El-Leithy, my friend, who I have been working with him for 25 years, yes, Ali, you touch the soil, and we touch the soil all the time. But can we? This is the question. The plan, believe me, for any context has been ready. I think after 2011, but who can? So the online teaching in China, as I told you, it was something started a long time ago. So when they have COVID-19, they don't suffer a lot, by the way. If the students go to school or stay at home, education is moving because they have been trying it for a long time. And I speak about the social credit. Whenever you go to China, they will take your eye print. Wherever you go, they follow you. Whatever happens, it is recorded, by the way. So this something makes you controlled, under control. What about your behavior? What about your dignity? What about your social interaction with other people? By the way, you are free there to do whatever you want, but don't touch the policies. We speak about freedom, Ali. We speak about the teaching or the education context. We speak about the teacher himself inside the class and outside the class. So this is what I did. And I'd like to say thank you so much. And this is my Google Scholar, by the way. You can join, all my articles, by the way, are free you can get it for free. This is my contact number. Whenever you want to contact me, I have my students all over the world, by the way. It was my pleasure to be with you. And this is my WeChat, by the way, because I'm still having my online teaching in China. I have MA students and I supervise them. My area for second language acquisition or applied linguistics in general, I am ready to help anybody in Egypt or out of Egypt, or of course in the Arab world, because in Oman here, I'm in the land of Oman, and I'm so proud to be here. I'm dreaming of coming one day back to Egypt. I'm dreaming, believe me. But I had faced a lot of troubles when I went back after I came back from Birmingham in 2006. My teacher in faculty of education in many universities. He said, he brought all the people. See, imagine our students want to come back. I told him, yes, I want to come back. He said, go and stay there. No need for you. I told him I want to build my university here. He said, no need. I said, thank you. And when I came back after all of these years, I was very surprised that I cannot give one session online for my nephews and my niece in Upper Egypt. This is the situation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Professor Anwar. Yeah, okay, Dr. Ghada.
Yeah, I just wish to thank Professor Anwar for his wonderful presentation. Thank you. It was
Thank
full
you.
of stories that would really encourage us to reflect. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.